Hey, welcome to Two Nerds One Podcast. This is a rambling podcast about dumb shit we're interested in. I'm Jake.
And I'm Scott.
Thanks for joining us.
So I have a really good topic for this podcast, Jacob. Do you know what it is?
You messaged me. I think I'm going to take it in a different direction, but I'm interested in doing it.
Okay. Well, I had the idea of discussing the worst jobs ever. What's your take on that topic? Because I think we have different interpretations.
I think for me, I put a lot of blame on myself, so I think I'm the worst at my jobs.
Okay, so it's more introspective.
Obviously, there's some jobs that are worse than others, but I would say that most of my jobs, I was the one failing and then just took it personally. But yeah, I'm interested in hearing more.
Well, this could cover both ends of the spectrum. So I was considering more the work conditions, but we could also talk about jobs that we were just intrinsically bad at, jobs that we didn't really fit in or we couldn't complete the tasks. So I think both is okay.
Yeah.
Should I start or shall you?
Yeah, you go first. I would love to hear what you're bad at.
Okay. I want to preface this by saying that I am thankful I've always had a job. I've been working since I'm 16 and a half, and I don't mean any disrespect to any employer. I'm not going to mention names or companies, but I will like say what type of place I worked at and mention the nationalities of the people I worked with. So I will start. I used to work at a pizza place that sold pizza by the slice in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about just from the
Sure.
yeah, it's a big chain. And so I was 15 and a half. My friend basically got me the job because I couldn't get a job anywhere. And the reason for that is because a lot of jobs say we went into Target. A group of us friends will go to Target to apply. They'd say, yeah, just sit down at this computer and take the test. And there would be questions like, what percentage do you think you are at leadership? And I would think very carefully. I would say, 70%, 80%. And then I would be honestly answering the questions. And of course, when you do that, they're going to look at that and just throw it out. So, of course, you have to be the 100% best in everything for them to even consider you. So, my friend got the job and I didn't. And I was pissed as hell. So, I was looking for a job for about 6 months. I just couldn't get anything. So, it was kind of like one experience after another. So, then I landed at this job via another friend from my high school. And it was great working with him, really loved it. But the place that we worked at was absolutely god awful. It was so bad. I'm not even sure where to start. This is sounding like I've been planning this rant, but it's all just coming off the tip of my tongue. I promise don't have anything written down. Let's just start with the place itself. I'll describe it. So when you walked in, on the right-hand side was a seating area that you would have people sit and eat at. On the left, you'd have a counter with glass, kind of like sneeze guard things, and then you'd
And
have
these are typically inside a mall. Yes.
yes, they're almost always in a mall, but in this case, it was in a strip mall, and it was its own restaurant, more or less.
Seriously.
Yes.
Wow.
And the place no longer exists, so I think I'm pretty comfortable talking about it. There's a good reason why it doesn't exist, but I'll just start with the layout. So on the right there, you've got the seating area left, you've got the sneeze guards, and then you've got the different types of pizzas. Then you have pastas, some sort of lasagnas, chicken. I think we did not have fish. Then on the back left, kind of, would be the employee entrance to the kitchen. And then if you go straight back from the dining rooms, then you'd be in the bathroom. There's only a few areas to this place, right? But you had an inside and an outside, more or less, where you had the customer area and where you serve the pizza, and you have the back kitchen area and the prep room and all that with the walk-in,
Mm-hmm.
what are those called? Walk-in refrigerator?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's start with the food. In theory, the pizzas were supposed to be made every 30 minutes to an hour, and so they'd always be fresh. In practice, we would make one pizza a day pretty much, and
Oh my God.
if it was not sold, then too bad. Then we'd throw it away or take it. The way it would work is that someone would order a slice of pizza, and then we put it in the oven for about 2 minutes until it was really hot, so it was kind of reheated. The pizzas were generally pretty good, even though they were very old. But there are some dishes that we would. I'll give you an example. We had some sort of chicken dish that it was laid out. You would get pasta, it's like spaghetti, and then you'd get a
Mm-hmm.
piece of chicken just thrown kind of on top and some of the sauce. So that chicken, if we didn't sell it for that day, we'd put it in the walk-in cooler, and we do that for up to a few weeks. Yeah, so we had kind of a steam line area that once you take something out of the walk-in cooler, you'd put it on the steam line, and then it would heat up and become warm. But that was literally the same chicken if it wasn't sold for the entire month. So it was not the most
Sweet
hygienic of.
Jesus.
I know, yeah. And as a consumer, you didn't know that, right? Because you just got a hot piece of chicken and you expected it to be fresh. That was truly and honestly the most awful sort of condition for food that I've seen. I mean, the hygiene we were okay, but it was just you're getting old food some of the times for depending what you got, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so that was one aspect of it. There was another aspect that was the management. We had two managers that were, they're pretty cool guys in general, but they basically just use high schoolers to get lots of hours. So I can recall working almost full time, like almost 40-hour weeks there, which is totally legal, but they would do it in
Yes.
like split shifts and then kind of pay us under the table. So I would be doing high school and then also that on the side. So it was truly and honestly the shadiest of places you can imagine. That was my first job, and when I started working in food service, as you know, because I know you also worked in food service, you lose your faith
Yep.
in humanity, right?
Pretty quickly, yeah.
I can recall one story where it was Christmas Eve and we were open only a half day, something like that. And we had some stupid policy where if you didn't get your receipt, then you got your money back. I don't know why that policy exists, really, but we had forgotten to do it for this one customer, and my manager was absolutely refusing to refund the money because we had never refunded the money. We had somehow always figured out a way to convince them they were crazy or they were wrong. And it's Christmas Eve and we're closing up, and this person just refuses to leave the store. So she and her daughter just sat down, kind of like I wouldn't say a Karen, but it was like a borderline Karen, because she was nice and all that. But she's like, no, I'm not leaving until you give me my money. And we're like, lady, it's Christmas Eve. Please go home. Go to your family. She's like, no, I want my, $15. So we had to wait until she just got tired and left. So she kept us there a couple of hours after closing time on Christmas Eve.
Why wouldn't you just give her $15?
Because our managers were so cheap. It wasn't really my decision, but I just kind of backed whatever the manager said. Yeah, she just wanted her $15 and they didn't want to give it, so it was a stalemate.
I guess he won? Because he lost $15 by keeping you there for a few extra hours.
True, she did. Yeah, she did in that sense. That's a very good point. Yeah, she won that circumstance, but she didn't get what she wanted. So at the same time, everyone lost basically, right?
I guess so stupid.
That's a good example. Another good example of customers I could think of is I recall one time we were also closing up, and this dude just walks in, all smiles, and walks straight to the back of the restaurant and to the bathroom. And I'm like, hey, sir, how's it going? And wanted to serve him and stuff. And he just doesn't give a shit, doesn't respond or anything, just goes to the bathroom. Then he comes out, he smiles at me again and just leaves and doesn't buy anything, which is totally fine. I don't really care. But then when I went to go check the bathroom that I had already cleaned, that dude had jettisoned his boxer shorts in the fucking toilet and clogged the toilet with them and had some big old nasty shit, floating, mixing in with the boxers. And yeah, just something that you don't want to deal with from a random person.
Sweet.
Just left that in the toilet for me as a surprise, right after I'd cleaned the bathroom.
Something very special about cleaning bathrooms.
Absolutely. Maybe I'm just a crazy person, but if I fuck up a bathroom, I would notify someone. I don't know.
Yeah, same.
Like just out of common courtesy, saying, hey, I'm sorry, I had an accident where I shit my pants.
I mean, it's only because you've had that situation, right? You know what it's like to clean up someone's poo boxers.
Poo boxers. You make it sound like this is a normal occurrence.
I mean, on some level it is. Everyone who has had to clean a bathroom has had some wild shit happen.
Pun intended?
Pun intended. I've seen more used tampons than I care to remember.
You sound like you're really repressing that memory.
I worked at a brunch restaurant, since we're talking about bathrooms. And yeah, we had to check on them. We weren't getting down and dirty in there and cleaning because we had a cleaning crew, but we had to check them and restock them and all that and wipe up piss on the seat or whatever. But I don't know what it is, ladies. If you got it in the toilet already, just flush that shit and it's wild.
Let's generalize. Who was worse as far as the genders? Were the guys worse or the ladies?
Oh, the ladies' room was always a mess. But I don't know if that was because we're a brunch restaurant and so there's more women, but yeah, it's wild. We had it too. It's funny too because it was two identical bathrooms right next to each other, and one just had a W and one just had an M. That was the only difference. And so like women would wait to go into the women's room, and I was like, they're the same room, just go in there. No one cares. They're like, oh really? I was like, yeah, just go in the bathroom. I don't give a shit.
You saved their day
So
or enlightened them in some way.
it's not like special in there. I think there was a stand up in the men's room, but that was kind of it.
Urinal. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Urinal, yeah.
So I've talked about my shitty restaurant that I worked at or job that I worked at. What's one of yours that you can take it any direction you want?
I mean, so there's clearly ones where like there's something wrong with the job. Where I worked at an ice cream place in Maine, and there was like red flags from the beginning where like my first day I showed up, I was the one opening and I didn't know how to open and no one was there to help me.
Oh, that sounds really tough.
So I was outside the store for like half an hour, 45 minutes, just being like, what the hell am I supposed to do out here? I don't know how to get in. I don't know what to do when I get in. I don't know what I'm doing here. I figured since they had me on the schedule for a certain time, someone was going to be there to support me, but no. So that was day one.
Did you have some sort of list to read or anything prepared?
No, no. You know, and other things that were bad or weird is like in the so it's an ice cream place, which, you know, whatever. In the basement is full of freezers, like chest freezers for large orders, which whatever they never really got, but in the basement was chest freezers. And so I get bored at work one day and I could just go walking around the store and was exploring. And down in the basement, in the far corner, there's a bed down there that looks like someone dragged it out of a dumpster, and blankets that it looked like a homeless person. It looked like someone was squatting. And so I tell my quote unquote manager, essentially someone else that I work with, I'm like, there's not just like stuff in the basement. I'm a little worried, like someone's sneaking in here and sleeping here at night. She's like, oh no, that's one of the managers.
He just lives there.
Yeah, I don't know how the relationship worked, but the long and short of it was this woman owned the ice cream place, and it was her ex-husband who like made the bases of the ice cream. He lived in the basement with his dog, or slept there, I guess, and lived out of his car. I don't really understand the relationship there. Funny story that came out of that though is that a woman that I worked with there moved to Maine around the same time I did, got a job at that ice cream place around the same time I did, but she arrived with her husband that I think she was just like itching to leave, and left with this dude who was squatting in the basement. And now, as far as I know, they moved to the middle of nowhere in Maine and live together in the guy's mom's house.
That's an upgrade, going from a basement to your mom's house.
Yeah, I think it's mostly because they sold the building and he couldn't sleep there anymore.
Otherwise, he would have had his wife sleep as well in the same area.
They must have like had sex down there, which is horrible to think about.
I was gonna ask you, did you ever come down in the morning, opening up, and say, "Oh, hey, what's going on? What's going on, guys?"
I came down there once, I think when he was down there. I don't know if it was at night and I forgot something at the store or what. It was very clear he was down there. I was like, oh, fuck. I don't know. I don't want to like expose his shame. Like, I never talked to him. He was a nice guy. He's perfectly nice. I think he was alcoholic or whatever, but he was nice to me. But yeah, he just couldn't get his shit together, clearly. And so
It sounds really awkward for you.
yeah, I didn't want to be like, oh, what's up, dude? Hanging out down here? Like,
What you
so,
doing?
so like at that same job, I left a pretty decent job because I hated that one to work at this ice cream place. And then during the interview, I was like, yeah, I know social media and I've been doing it for years and yada yada. And the woman was like, oh, awesome, we need that kind of thing. And, you know, you could do that for us. So I was like, oh, sweet. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then she's like, yeah, after you start, we can really start talking about when you can take it over and, you know, we'll start paying you more for sure. And yada, yada. I was like, oh, awesome. And so that never happened, one. And two, yeah, I became a delivery driver for them. And you would think, oh, you're making deliveries in Maine, in town. Oh, no, sir. I was driving to Connecticut, Rhode Island, and then I had one big order that I drove on Halloween all the way down to New York, upstate New York.
Holy crap! How long of a drive was that?
It took all day. I don't remember how many hours, but it took all day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. And the other part of the story is that on Halloween, I can't remember the year, but on Halloween, I think it was like 2013, 2012 even. I don't remember. Yeah, maybe it was 2012. There was a big snowstorm on the East Coast and it knocked out power to most of the East Coast. Like the entire state of Connecticut didn't have power basically. So I leave Maine with a little bit of snow on the ground, not a scary amount. I get to Connecticut and I like need a refuel, but there's no gas stations open and all the gas stations have lines at them that do have fuel because there's no power anywhere. So I'm shitting myself worried about, am I going to run out of gas? Because the other thing about the truck, it didn't have a working gas gauge. Like it didn't really work, right? You just had to guess at how much fuel is left.
Oh boy.
And
Did you
then
have any other fun factors like the refrigeration only lasts for a certain number of hours or
it literally only lasts a certain amount of hours. Yeah, because
so you,
yeah, it's not a refrigerator truck, it's an ice box truck. So what happens is you have to plug it in at night and it just runs all night and creates a big old ice block. And then that's how it stays cold. It stays cold a long time, but not forever. But the other part of this is I got to New York and their power was out. This huge distribution center, they like supply Whole Foods, right? For the entire New York DMA.
hmm
When I got there, they wouldn't accept the order because the power was out. And they couldn't open the freezers because if they opened the freezers, then he could get in and then all the other shit could get spoiled. I think I was there for an hour or two, probably 2 hours trying to get, I don't know, it was probably like a couple $1,000s in ice cream through a door. The stupidest fucking job. Yeah.
Did they tip you in the end? Or were tips given for deliveries?
No. The other part of this too is during all of this, they had money flow issues where like she spent all this money to buy this milk and sugar or whatever for this huge order. Didn't have enough money to pay to her employees. So I do all this order and then like that next week, no one gets paid and there's no word about it.
Damn, that's scary.
Everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? No one got paid. And there's no email. There's no communication from management. And the other part of this is this woman is fucking never there. And when I say never, I think I met her 4 times.
Wow.
And this is a store of 5 people,
Right.
maybe. So it's, what are you even doing, lady? I don't know. She wasn't running it, clearly.
Did she have other ventures that she was doing at the same time?
She had children. That was it.
Okay, that qualifies as a reason, definitely. I just was wondering if she had multiple businesses that she had to also look after as well.
No, she was just a terrible business owner.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, she was horrible.
So how often was it that you didn't get paid on time or didn't get paid at all? Was there any cases of that?
Oh, those are 2 different things. So paid on time, rarely. Not paid was, I think, once or twice. Definitely once where there was just no check and no communication. I even emailed her and was like, hey, well, what is happening? And there was no response.
Wow, that's very nice of her.
I always have dramatic ways of quitting jobs too, but for that one, I sent an email and just said I brought in bar stool chairs that I didn't need anymore because there was nowhere to sit at the store.
hmm
So my email just said, you can keep the chairs, I quit. And then it was just the email.
Was a one-liner.
I'm always dramatic in how I quit.
You ever seen that video of the guy that brings the marching band into the hotel to quit his job?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh man, that's so great. And seeing the manager's face not being able to comprehend why the guy is doing this.
It's not ever like surprising that bad managers don't know what the hell is happening,
What
right?
makes a bad manager, do you think?
I think poor communication, and I mean both ways of like telling me what the hell I need to do until I understand what I have to do, and listening. If they don't listen, I don't know.
I totally agree with you on that. I was going to say the communication both ways, from the employee to the manager and the manager to the employee. If they don't listen, and
Yeah,
also in addition to that, the empathy, like say, yeah, I mean, in theory, at a company, if someone dies in your family or whatever, I think in most companies it's written out to what extent it's only your spouse or kids or whatever or family. But say if your cousin died or
yeah,
something, then you probably couldn't get time off to go to the funeral, according to some rule books, right?
right,
But what kind of asshole is going to say no?
right.
Your cousin is not part of your immediate family, so you cannot go to that funeral. That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Some of my managers, I don't think I don't know. I can't give them all of the blame all of the time, right? I'm not trying to give them an out. I wasn't always exactly the best employee either,
Yeah.
you know?
What kinds of things did you not do, or did you do badly?
I don't know. The one I'm thinking of was my other job in Maine where like I worked at it was basically a place that sold like trinkets to old people. And I think she sort of expected me to be more independent, and I didn't really understand the business model or what the hell she expected me to do or what. I think now, if I took the position now, I'd be more understand it a lot more. Like at the time, I was like, I don't know what you want from me. And so on one hand, I think she was too busy or just didn't give a shit enough to like try and help me understand what the hell my job was. But I was also too naive and too bullheaded to like ask for that help.
Right. So you thought, okay, I've got this. I know what to do.
Yeah, and she was like, "Well, he keeps saying he's got it, so I don't know, whatever."
A hands-off kind of approach. Okay.
I don't know what the solution there is. Most likely, it is me not being a fucking idiot, right?
I had a simple example. It's going back to that first job where every night when we had to close, we had to mop the floors. And I was a complete fucking
Hmm.
idiot and I didn't dry them up enough when doing the drying phase. So the floors would be wet for like an hour. And one of my managers flipped the fuck out every time this happened. And then we got into verbal fights all the time about this. So it was kind of a similar situation where he showed me how to mop, but he didn't really pay attention to me when I did it. I will reinforce that I was a complete idiot for not drying the mop enough, you know? But I thought, okay, a little bit of water is not
Sure.
bad, right? But yeah, I had to completely wring the fuck out of it and then get it to the point where it's bone dry and then go over the wet floor with it, and then of course it'll be dry faster. The majority of it's on me, but there's also kind of a part on the manager where if he doesn't show you how to do it the right way, then it's a little bit's on him too. I can totally relate.
Sure. It's the same thing with like kids too, right? It's like your kid doesn't know how to use a fork unless you show them how to use a fork. Right? If you're just like, eating with your hands and then you expect your kid to eat with a fork, you haven't been eating with your fork. I don't know how to use this damn thing. I feel like I haven't been given the opportunity yet to be like an actual manager. I've had people do work for me, but not work underneath me. Does that make sense?
Totally, yeah. You don't have the responsibility of managing and supervising.
Right.
Yeah.
And that comes with all of its own pitfalls. But I feel like I have had enough bad managers to know what I want from a manager.
So you have the perspective of the employee, but not so much from the other way around for the manager.
Sure, sure. And I know you have to balance, as a manager, you have to balance like ownership or whoever against the employees. I think at least in my limited experience, it's always tricky of like, my job isn't to get you in trouble with my boss, right? My job is to make sure you're doing your job and then work through any problems. And then ultimately, if you got to get canned, then I got to talk to my boss. It's not about tattling on you, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Right. You can always tell when a manager just cares about the profits or his own bonus or something like that. It's definitely something that's very evident. Have you ever had a manager like that?
I've had a pretty long string of incompetence, but I don't know if I've had anyone malicious. Yeah, I don't think
Not even malicious, but you can tell that money was more important than people to them.
I mean, I got laid off at the hotels. It wasn't my manager, but it was management. It was the ownership who canned five of us all in one day. I understand from the hotel's perspective of they're just here to make money and that's all they do.
Right. They're more in tune with the financial side as well. If you own it, then it's going into your pocket, right? So,
Right.
well, the expenses versus the revenue, then whatever's left, then you get, right?
Yeah.
I had a job at a different pizza place, and they were pretty terrible in general. This you're gonna notice a theme when I'm talking about pizza places. I worked at like a bunch of them. So I worked a normal job doing work at the university, doing a full-time job, and then I also worked evenings at a pizza place. And it was just opening, so it was really exciting. Everyone is like, oh, this place is going to be so busy. They're going to have so many customers. And then we had training of how to make pizzas and other kind of things, right? And according to their way, because they had a different philosophy than some other pizza places about what kind of toppings. And they were expecting this place to get so crowded. And the owners came out, a couple different investors and owners also for the training, and also kind of made pizzas with us, you know, kind of pretend like they're doing something. And then the owner or the manager of the store realized that the profits were not what they were supposed to be. There was no one coming to the store. It was really, really dead. And then if you kind of zoom out a bit, on the same street, there's 4 other pizza places within a few hundred feet. So it's kind of to be expected, and it was all in the back of our minds. But as opposed to firing people, what they did is they would just look at the computer and say, okay, they had some sort of, is it POS or what is that called, point of sale system?
Mm-hmm.
And also keep track of everyone's wages and how many people you had on. So it would show your operating costs for that hour for the personnel, and each person would be represented by a different line. And some of these people would be driving from 45 minutes away to get to this stupid shitty pizza job. And he would just point at someone and say, you go home, you go home, without any sort of sorry or I hate to do this. It was just, you go home. So before I left that job, I made myself 2 of the biggest fucking pizzas I could possibly make, then with the most expensive ingredients. And then I walked out and said, oh, I quit. I think I asked a coworker out on a date, like a manager there, when she said, oh, I'm taken. I was like, okay, bye. I'm leaving. I quit. The owner was heartless. I mean, utterly heartless. He did not give a shit about his employees at all.
Yeah, it's too bad.
And I understand his perspective too, but you also have to have a bit of empathy for people that were making these, let's say it was like maybe less than $8 an hour or something like that back then, working at a pizza place. And the people are also driving quite a distance in some cases to get to that shitty pizza place, and just sending them home. Yeah, very tough.
This is going to sound horrible. One of the worst managers I had was my own grandmother.
Was she a real slave driver?
It's amazing to me that they even had the business as long as they did, just because she's terrible with people. And my grandfather is worse, but he just makes the food.
Are they still alive?
My grandmother is, yeah, for now.
Okay. I'm very sorry, grandmother of Jacob. I hope that you never hear this.
I would say there's no love lost. I mean, she knows that she was terrible.
Okay. Is that going to be on her gravestone? Was terrible at her job?
I mean, there's more to her than working at the bakery, but she's not like a nice person.
Okay.
She can be nice. She's also really sexist. I think I was one of the first boys to work the front, right? They've only ever...
So you broke the gender barrier.
Sure. I broke that glass ceiling. I think what happened was their accountant ran away with the farm, basically. The story goes, this accountant didn't pay their taxes for years and years and years, and like a number of other small businesses in the area, and then ran away to the Coconos, or I don't know, wherever the fuck.
Wow.
I think then my grandparents didn't really like the business anymore, because the other part of this is they weren't making nearly as much, we'll say. I don't know if they were losing money, but they definitely were not making nearly as much as they did.
So that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, so I think they were just done. And so, like anyone who puts most of their life into a business, is like they had a hard time admitting that it was over, and so they just kept doing it. I don't know, I think she didn't train very well. She didn't work with customers very well.
And she worked in the front?
Mm-hmm, she did.
So how was she not good with customers? Was she rude? Was she...
Oh, she's rude. Yeah, she's rude and short. You know, it's a bakery. This is an example. We had a case. You would walk directly in, and there would be a huge case of little cookies in there, okay? And without fail, there would always be a mother and a little kid that would come in and buy like 5 cookies or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the kid would always order, right? Like, I want this one, and be very quiet and timid. And without fail, if my mother was waiting on these poor people, she'd be like, I can't hear you, honey. Speak up! Like, really fucking loud. And rude isn't the right way to put it, just grating, right? Of like, holy shit, lady. Like, even I would be like, whoa, it's a child.
You said mother, but you mean your grandmother, right?
Oh, yeah, my grandmother, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I don't know. She did, like, defend me a couple of times against really shitty customers. But like, she never was good. She never was good at, like... Another example, my grandmother worked there for fucking ever, right? You would think just by osmosis, she would know how to write someone's name on a cake, right? Mm-hmm. Without fail. So they had those blank cakes that you could just write someone's name on or whatever.
The sheet cakes, right?
Yeah. I don't know, like 6-inch rounds or 9-inch rounds or whatever.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
And with like a blank top and flowers. And people would come in and be like, hey, can I get happy birthday whoever on top? My grandmother, who would work there for, I couldn't even tell you, longer than I had been alive times 2 maybe, of like, she would just be like, no.
what was the reasoning? Like she didn't want to do it or didn't know how?
I don't know. So my how it would work is my sister actually went to culinary school, so she would write on the cakes. The fact that my grandmother, who had been in the bakery business that long, would say no. So the other thing they did
Right.
to help that is they sold, it's called gel. I think they were gel frostings. They were like tiny little tubes that you could like write someone's name on. And what you would do is be like, oh, I can't write my name, but you can buy this $5 thing and then you can write on it. Without fail, people are like, I don't want that. That's stupid.
So it was selling a product that trying to make money and it not working because people don't want to do that, right?
They want someone's name on the cake nice, not to have it look like crap.
Oh yeah,
Because if they do it, then it's going to look like poo.
right.
But yeah,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
it was just more evidence that my grandmother just bad. She's just bad.
Sounds like the business model or not understanding the market was part of it, and then the personality being kind of brusque and not friendly was also another part of it, right?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. They didn't make bagels.
Okay.
Like they thought it was a fad, so they didn't make bagels.
Those bagel things will go away.
Yeah, since like late 80s or something, my mother was trying to get them to make bagels. And they're like, nah, it's a fad.
They really could have cashed in on that. Yeah, that was very big. It still is. I mean, people buy them like crazy everywhere
Yeah.
in the US. So
Yeah. So, yeah, they, I don't know how they stayed in business that long, to be honest.
did they have lots of customers?
They did. They were pretty close to a train, and so, like, people would walk there and get coffee and a donut or whatever in the morning. You know, and they made bread, like, pretty decent bread, holidays and stuff like that, and birthday cakes and wedding cakes they did a lot of, which was so nerve-wracking. Yeah, lots of stuff like that.
And what ways? Transporting them or making them or what?
Yeah, transporting them. Someone would order, like, a $600 cake or $1,000 cake from us, and I would have put it in a cardboard box and carry it.
Oh yeah.
People were bad at moving cakes. They would open the side of a van door and just place it in there, and I was like, please be careful with it. It's gonna move around in there. Like, yeah, it'll be fine.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know.
Your problem now as soon as you leave.
Oh yeah, as long as they're transporting it. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember this one guy came in for a sheet cake once, and it was like a double sheet cake, so it was pretty tall. So, and our boxes only go up so high. So the trick is to tape another box on top. And he picks up the box, squeezes it closed, and throws it over his shoulder.
Good call. Yeah.
I was like, that cake is just fucking ruined. You know, I spent 10 minutes trying to make it, I don't know, the top perfect.
And then all ruined.
And then he just fucking idiot. Yeah. In my grandmother's defense too, I was a terrible employee. Like I would sleep in the office. It's usually my sister and I working there, or me and another person. And yeah, I would take naps in the office. There's a lot of like sitting around and like reading in the back room and just reading books and stuff.
Was it slow or were you just ignoring the work?
Oh, it was very, 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 very slow. Yeah, because
Okay.
all they were busy from 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. to 9, and then it was just dead the rest of the day. I don't know why they were still open. They would sell probably enough money to make it worthwhile, right? It's like typically what would happen is, you know, people would spend a tiny bit of money in the morning, but there would be a lot of them. In the afternoon, they would trickle in, but they would spend much more, right? They'd be buying cakes or lots of bread or whatever. So it was
Right.
typically,
It must have been financially viable.
it must have been, yeah.
Well, if it's slow, then I don't see that as a bad thing unless there was work that you could have done, like cleaning random things.
I I don't know. I was in high school. I wasn't into that scene. I'm sure there was. I'm sure there was.
Fair enough. We have, I would say, about like 5 more minutes of audio. Is there another aspect of shitty jobs or another funny story that you have about a job that you'd like to share?
I don't know. Do you have anyone off the top of your dome? I can't think of any other funny stories.
I used to work in a different pizza place where
Oh my God, did you work anywhere else?
no, for that's where my career was going from one to another. But I used to deliver pizza, and this place was really busy, especially Friday, Saturday. There would be like an order of 30 pizzas, and there'd be two people just making the pizzas. One person just making the dough, one person just doing the topping, one person on the oven, one person working the register, and then one or two people helping box the pizzas that come out of the oven.
Yeah.
And all of the coworkers were so damaged in one way or another. They would go next door to the bar and get completely messed up on alcohol and come back and try to work their shifts. And they would be doing weed in the back. I say doing weed, but smoking weed in the back. Like they would hotbox in this like mop closet, and then they would totally completely reek of weed, like absolutely. And then they just forget like 3 or 4 pizzas. We always had problems with the customers because hey, I've been waiting on this pizza for the last 30 minutes, where is it? And then the cook says, oh yeah, I forgot that one. so then they bump it up to the line of 30 pizzas waiting and put it at the front, but still the whole process starts over again. 20 minutes till you get your pizza. So that was really interesting, watching all these dysfunctional people trying to come together to make something work and somehow still keeping the business in the plus was really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you'd like to give someone that is either an employee, a manager, or someone working in general?
I would say try and humanize the person. Try to see what their life is like. Try to understand why they're not doing the work they're doing, or why they like it or why they don't. See the person for the human instead of the robot doing the work for you.
That's a really good piece of advice. It sounds like it was more geared towards managers, right?
Sure. I mean, it's both ways too. As an employee, try to see it from their perspective too. You're not their only problem. They have a lot more going on than just you. Try to see them as a person and understand what they have to deal with.
That's a very good point. I think the advice I would have is actually for customers, which is be nice to people in food service in general, because they get so much shit every day.
That is for sure. Tip people more and be nicer to people is probably the takeaway.
Amen. Amen. So as always, I'm sorry that you had to listen to our shit.
Yeah, me too. Sorry about that.
And we'll see you next time.
Take care.